Vitamin D is one of the most popular supplements on the market today, and it is touted to have many health benefits ranging from protecting from viruses to building strong bones and beyond. Most people today are getting some form of vitamin D supplementation, whether through processed foods or supplements. And the question I'm posing today is whether vitamin D supplementation is actually healthy for children, adults, and pets. Of particular concern are children and unborn babies, which we'll discuss a little bit later. So is supplemental vitamin D3 poisonous and toxic to people and pets? Let's discuss that a little bit. Cholecalciferol, or vitamin D3 supplement, is used as a rodenticide and kills mice and rats. It is used in popular products to poison rodents. So this cholecalciferol, vitamin D3, the same vitamin D that's used in supplements and in foods, is a rodenticide. It's a rat poison. Now, professionals admit that D3 cholecalciferol is rat poison, and there's no denying it. But I have heard many professionals say that it's not harmful to people in the same way that it's harmful to rodents, or that it's very rare to harm people at appropriate dosages. And so, however, mice and rats are used in human experimentation because their DNA is said to be similar to humans, and oftentimes this determines how it will affect people by using mice and rats in experimentation. And mice and rats die from it. It is a poison. So, we know that vitamin D from the sunshine is vital for hundreds of healthy functions within the body, and it's naturally found in some natural foods. So we'll call that the sunshine vitamin when we get it from the sun. And when we're talking about this vitamin D supplementation, it can be cholecalciferol vitamin D3 supplement or ergocalciferol vitamin D2 supplement. They just come from different sources, but they act in the same way. So either way. But cholecalciferol vitamin D3 is what they use as a rodenticide, a rat poison. Foods with added vitamin D include milks, breads, food bars, soy milks, rice milks, vegan processed foods, pastas, ice creams, juices, energy drinks, etc. They've added supplemental vitamin D, D2, and D3 into our foods in many of the processed foods, drinks, and in supplementation. Now, if vitamin D3 is really a rat poison, what does it do in the body of a rat or mouse? So cholecalciferol, used as a poison, targets mice and rodents, and they're susceptible to high dosages. So how does cholecalciferol work as a poison for mice? It causes hypercalcemia. So when it's taken, the cholecalciferol vitamin D3, it causes high levels of calcium into the blood. It draws the calcium from the bones into the blood. This makes the bones weaker and makes the calcium levels flow throughout the system. So in mice, this leads to hypertension, cardiac problems, renal failure, and death. So if vitamin D3 is really a rat poison, this article I took from a pharmacy, and it says, cholecalciferol vitamin D3 has been used for decades. It is considered a safe dietary supplement for humans. I've heard that so many times, it is safe. But let's continue on with this article and read and see what they say. At high doses, this hormone causes blood calcium to rise to toxic levels. This in turn leads to kidney damage, bleeding, heart problems. This mouse and rat poison is also toxic to pets and must be kept well out of reach. But in the sentence prior, we saw that they said it is considered a safe dietary supplement for humans. Let's continue. As with all poisons, they don't deny it's a poison. The dose is critical. Yes, the dose for this poison is critical. Continuing, that is why the tolerable upper limit is set at 4,000 international units for adult humans. Some people believe that if a little is good, then a lot is better. Anyone who uses a lot more than 4,000 IU daily should monitor blood levels of 25-hydroxy vitamin D regularly. If this fat-soluble vitamin builds up in the body to toxic levels, it could lead to hypercalcemia, excessive levels of calcium in the bloodstream, and the symptoms would be the same: hardening of the arteries and shutdown of the system. It just happens more slowly in humans. But did I read this correctly? As with all poisons, the dose is critical. Adults shouldn't exceed 4,000 IU. I mean, it just doesn't really make sense if it's a poison and they admit to it. And it's the same way that it kills mice. Vitamin D3 is one of the most popular vitamins in the pharmacy these days. That's because a lot of people are low in vitamin D. They're low in sunshine vitamin and foods that naturally contain it, not supplements. Vitamin D3 is often considered to be the best supplement to replenish low nutrient levels. We've all been told this. But did you know that too much vitamin D3 can pose problems? Until we received this question, we had not realized vitamin D3 had been used as a mouse and rat poison. So this is an article from a pharmacy. They didn't even know it was a mouse and rat poison. So let's recap a little bit. So looking at the toxicity symptoms of vitamin D3 cholecalciferol in humans and toxicity symptoms in rats and rodents, it's the same for humans, rats, pets, children. Many are told that their blood levels of this supplemental vitamin D, must be monitored to prevent toxicity. And did I mention it's a rat poison? Vitamin D3 may kill a mouse or rat more quickly because of their small size. However, in humans, depending on the amount one ingests daily, this can be a bioaccumulative effect. In other words, the harmful effects and symptoms would happen more gradually over time. So it would be a toxic side effect, and it would cause eventual hardening of the arteries and death due to hypercalcemia. So I got this off of Medical News Today, but you can find it all over. If you look at toxic symptoms of vitamin D and look at the side effects. So excessive amounts of vitamin D in the body can cause calcium levels in the body to lead to conditions called hypercalcemia, too much calcium in the blood. And so there's a list of symptoms that this will cause: fatigue, loss of appetite, weight loss, excessive thirst, excessive urination, dehydration, constipation, irritability, nervousness, ringing in the ears, muscle weakness, nausea, vomiting, dizziness, and continuing confusion, disorientation, high blood pressure, heart arrhythmias, long-term complications of humans of hypervitaminosis D is kidney stones, kidney damage, kidney failure, excess bone loss because it's pulling the calcium out of the bones, calcification and hardening of the arteries and soft tissues. In addition, increased blood calcium can cause abnormal heart rhythms. So this is very hard for them to diagnose because it has such a widespread application of problems, and it happens over time. So people don't really recognize where it's coming from. It's very hard to trace this type of poisoning because it would be slow, gradual, and painful. And most would not attribute it to the supplement. Vitamin D3 and D2 are added to many foods and supplements, not to be confused with naturally occurring sunshine vitamin D that's naturally in foods and that we get on our skin from the sunshine. So of particular concern to me is the studies on D3, that it can harm pregnant women and infants and babies in the womb. Vitamin D3 in a growing fetus can cause malformation in the fetus. It could cause cognitive and mental disabilities. In young children, it can cause all kinds of the same symptoms that we see in adults and rats. Also, it can impair their growth and cause other health problems. So if we think about it, if a child eats multiple gummy vitamins, that taste like candy, and they've been consuming them daily for months, and they've been eating and drinking other foods with vitamin D supplements in the foods, they could easily build up dangerous levels and overdose and suffer injury or death as a result. Did I mention it's a rat poison? You know, we wouldn't sprinkle decon on our food. We wouldn't sprinkle a rodenticide on our food. But so why would we take something that is a rat poison that causes the exact same symptoms in adults, children, and pets? And especially for babies in the womb. These supplements are owned by big corporations, including pharmaceutical companies, which have bought out most supplement brands, including many of your favorites. So there's no regulation on supplements at all. There are some good companies out there, small companies, but the big companies, the big pharmaceutical companies, and the big, companies out there have bought out most all supplements. All of the supplements, and there's no one who regulates these supplements at the manufacturing level. Independent studies of the quantity of vitamin D3 in foods and supplements showed that the amount listed on the label at times far exceeded the labeled amount on the bottle. This is very shocking. Sometimes it would exceed it by thousands. It was shocking when I looked to see how much difference there was in the amount of vitamin D in a product, and it was just absolutely an independent testing of it. What is labeled on the bottle is oftentimes not at all what is in the bottle. It's typically quite a bit more. So that's very concerning. Sometimes it's so shockingly large of an amount of difference that, there's no regulation of this. And so pets were dying and getting sick a few years ago when they recalled pet foods. And the FDA only steps in after issues arise. And, so as I said, a few years ago, they had to recall several pet foods because of the high levels of vitamin D causing sickness and death in dogs. And they were getting sick on these vitamin D supplements in the food. Did I mention it's a rat poison? So how on earth did it get touted as the greatest thing since sliced bread, which also, by the way, if it's white bread, has typically been stripped of all of its nutrients and put back in these synthetic vitamins, including vitamin D, which, as we see, these harmful chemicals are labeled as fortified in our food. And it's been shown in the marketing and advertising world that if something is packaged in certain colors and labeled as healthy, then people would believe it and buy it. Many foods that are processed and unhealthy are labeled as nutritious when they're actually hazardous to the health and very chemicalized. We have to remember that supplements are created in a lab just like pharmaceuticals. Most all popular brands of supplements, as mentioned before, are owned by large companies as well as the pharmaceutical companies. So I'm not discounting the few small good companies out there that have integrity in making good food grade supplements, but the majority of supplements, almost all of them, operate in much the same way in the body as a pharmaceutical. And as you saw, the side effects, but supplements don't have to come with a list of side effects or any oversight. So really anything can be put into the supplement without consumers' knowledge. And there's all kinds of additives, fillers, all kinds of ingredients that are in supplements that people don't even know. So toxicity to pets. Cholecalciferol, vitamin D3, is one of the most potent mouse and rat poisons on the market. So for animals, it causes the same thing. It causes elevated blood calcium levels, and if untreated, can cause kidney failure. Acute kidney failure usually develops 2 to 3 days after ingestion of this type of mouse and rat poison. Unfortunately, cholecalciferol mouse and rat poison does not have an antidote and is one of the most challenging poisoning cases to treat, as hospitalization, frequent laboratory monitoring, and expensive therapy is often required if a positive outcome happens. So if it's not too far gone. So The sunshine vitamin is vitally important for health when we receive it from the sun, and lack of sunshine and healthy foods, is the cause of really many health problems. In our modern day, the technological life, many people don't see the light of day and eat unhealthy foods, and their bodies begin to show it. Alongside with the fear of skin cancer, and eating harmful toxic foods, it's a recipe for health problems. It's impossible to get too much vitamin D from the sunshine because the body stops producing it when it's gotten enough sunshine. And it only takes about 15 minutes a day to get adequate amounts of sunshine vitamin. And it will accumulate in the body in natural ways and be able to sustain a person through winter if they get enough throughout the nice time of the year. If you get enough sunshine vitamin during that time of the year, then it does accumulate in the fat storages of the body. And of course, it acts more like a hormone. It's more of a hormone, sunshine vitamin, and foods that, consume foods that are higher in this sunshine vitamin to keep one healthy during the winter months. But sun is your best source of vitamin D, and there's a good reason it's called the sunshine vitamin. So when the skin is exposed to sunlight, the vitamin D from cholesterol, the UVB rays in the sunshine will hit the cholesterol in the skin cells and provide energy for vitamin D synthesis to occur. And like I said, it's more of a hormone in the body, and it is essential for optimal health. We've just been told it's, to be afraid of the sun, but it's because of the chemicals in the body that causes the harmful reaction on the skin. We'll look at that in a minute. But for example, getting the sunshine vitamin instructs the cells in the intestines to absorb calcium and phosphorus, two minerals are essential for maintaining strong and healthy bones. And low vitamin D levels, of course, from the sunshine and natural foods are linked to serious health problems. So if we look at a list of vitamin D deficiency, it's true. Not getting enough sunshine or healthy foods will cause illness in the body. Someone could get sick or infections more often, fatigue, painful bones and back, depressed mood, impaired wound healing, hair loss, muscle pain, obesity, diabetes, hypertension, depression, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, osteoporosis, neurodegenerative disease, Alzheimer's, on and on it goes. And the benefits of vitamin D are a plethora, but it's from the sunshine and natural healthy foods. It gives healthy bones and teeth, supports the immune system, brain function, healthy nervous system, healthy lung function, good heart health, reduces the risk of flu, regulates insulin levels, and helps children to grow healthy and strong. So we see the labels on here, for these vitamin supplements is cholecalciferol, is a rat poison. This is not the healthy way to get vitamin D, sunshine vitamin. So we see some examples here of people who took vitamin D and they had problems with their body almost immediately. Someone said their calves cramped up badly during regular walking and stayed painful. Neither the doctor nor the compounding pharmacy could explain it at the time, but they had been prescribed 100,000 international units of vitamin D. Remember that in a food is synergistic. A whole food, as our Creator created it, was made to have vitamins and minerals, cofactors and co-nutrients, and all these supporting factors within the food. Taking an isolated synthetic supplement is going to cause deficiencies in one way or another in the body. It's meant to have cofactors and co-nutrients along with that. So vitamin D would need K2 and calcium and phosphorus and magnesium and a host of other things. And there's no way to supplement that with a synthetic and get it in right proportions as you would in a food or by sunshine. There's just no way to use a synthetic poison, rat poison, in order to get vitamin D levels to optimal amounts, or even in a healthy way, as we've seen. Here's another example of someone who had trouble on vitamin D. She had terrible bone pain in her knees and legs, terribly, struggled with pain. It's not worth it. Calcium was being leached from her bones. No, does this pain come from the calcium being leached from the bones or not? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And so, people have had a symbiotic relationship with nature and the outdoors, along with sunshine and healthy foods for thousands of years. And it's only in the last few decades that the skin cancer rates have risen and fear was instilled in mankind about the sun. Studies confirm, however, that it was the advent of chemicalized foods and when chemical sunscreens and lotions were invented and, the more harmful chemical sunscreens, that people began to experience more skin cancer rates. So we'll see that in some of the charts. But people have been in the sun for thousands of years, and only more recently have people begun to be programmed with fear of the sun along with unhealthy dietary practices and chemical sunscreens. So, the sunshine vitamin is vital for good health. And with the advent of preventative health care, which I say loosely, more supplementation, more chemicalized foods, more chemical skincare products, and people not getting outside and exercising and eating right and getting healthy sunshine, we have never been a generation of more unhealthy people. There are so many people going to doctors. Something's wrong. Did I mention D3 is rat poison? How can anyone say that rat poison isn't harmful to people? Which I've heard the professionals say many times. But who benefits from us being sick? And that leads us to that question, a rhetorical question. Who benefits? Well, so changing the package of rat poison doesn't make it healthy for children, people, or pets. The sunshine vitamin is very healthy and everyone needs to get more of it at optimal times of the year to sustain them, and eating healthier foods to promote that good health. Staying away from toxic foods and chemicals as they oxidize the body and cause an oxidative reaction on the skin from sun exposure. So our Creator made food in its whole form and said it was good. We were not meant to take synthetic, isolated forms of laboratory-created substances that are clearly labeled as poisons, and vitamin D supplementation requires laboratory testing to make sure one is not getting toxic levels. However, it is still doing damage over time. So even with that testing, it doesn't mean that damage isn't occurring to the organs and internal system. The sunshine vitamin does not ever have this problem. There is no way for mankind to bottle what our Creator made to keep us healthy. Many are the afflictions people suffer with under the guise of healthy labels. Did I mention vitamin D is rat poison? Revelation 18:23. For your merchants were the great ones of the earth, because all the nations were deceived by their sorcery. And there was found in her the blood of prophets and saints and all who had been slain on the earth.
Hey, Dr. G here. We just wanted to bring you a brief message. Talking about vitamin D, I'm always talking about how supplements are not the right way to go with vitamin D, that we want to get vitamin D either from our foods, from animals that produce the vitamin C in their systems or their products, and get the vitamin D from there, or make our own. We make our own by sunlight. This vitamin D story. So they did a bunch of randomized controlled trials on different things like bone density and risk of developing cancer and risk of developing cardiovascular disease. Low vitamin D levels are also correlate to a higher risk of autoimmune disease. And like I said, cancer and heart disease and depression. And so they've done a lot of randomized controlled trials. But when they do what are called meta-analysis, where they combine all those trials into like one giant study, they find that vitamin D doesn't really do those things. It doesn't prevent cardiovascular disease, or at least the biomarkers of it, or these other diseases. And so that kind of gets back to, I say, don't take the pill. Get the real thing from the sun. It's very important. Now, am I guilty of having patients for probably 15 years telling them to take a vitamin D supplement. Did I do it myself? Yes, because the simple mind says, well, if it's low and you're much more likely to get so-and-so disease like COVID-19 or whatever it is, then, you can't go wrong taking the pill. Well, maybe you can go wrong. The randomized controlled trials have shown that, even though I am not a fan of randomized controlled trials, because the randomized controlled trials typically give you the answer that whoever paid for the study wants. So I'm skeptical of randomized controlled trials. So I certainly don't use that as my only criterion. But here's another interesting thing, is that rat poisons have as their only active ingredient, rat and mouse poisons, like Quinton mouse seed, or Quintox mouse seed, Quintox mouse and rat bait, Rampage mouse and rat bait, and then Decon, one of the big sellers out there, Decon rat poison. Well, it used to be the drug, the blood thinner, Coumadin. We give that to grandma for her atrial fibrillation, and it's also a nice chemical to kill a rat. Well, vitamin D3 is also a nice chemical to kill a rat. In fact, as the only active ingredient, it will seriously raise the calcium levels and the phosphorus levels and cause death in a mouse or a rat. So, bottom line is, do not take the supplement. Find the sun, okay? Find the sun. Get the D-minder. Get your vitamin D the way nature intended. Taking a pill is like taking rat poison.